Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the HR Global Summit. I'm really glad to see already joining everyone here today. I wanted to hear you and to watch you in our chat I'm having here in my telephone. I can see already people connected, but I know that there are still people coming. So, we are very thrilled to present our second HR Global Summit. Today, we will explore crucial topics related to effective onboarding as a tool for maximizing employee retention and unlocking the full potential of your personnel. My name is Nika Konstantinova, and I'm very happy to spend these 3 unique hours of valuable and shared experiences. So if you are here, let me know in the chat. I really need to see you and to feel your presence here, because this summit is not only for giving you information, this summit is also to building up a dialogue. So our discussions will dive into, Macedonia, Poland, Serbia, hi from Ukraine. Great, guys. Okay, who else? Let's check out the geography and the multinational of our summit. Moldova, great. I can see here smiles and everything that you're sending. A little bit later, apart from my questions to you, I really want to see here questions from your side concerning the topic we will be talking. Right now, I will dive a little bit into the discussion of what we are having here. So, today we're diving into innovative approaches to employee training and development during onboarding. Also, we will speak about key metrics and analytics for measuring the effectiveness of onboarding programs, and as well as the unique aspects of onboarding remote employees, which we see very important today. Our diverse lineup of speakers offer a variety of perspectives and innovative ideas on the critical issues. This diversity is what makes the knowledge and experience gained at the summit so unique and very valuable. And I'm pretty sure that you will agree with me. So, because embracing non-standard, creative ways of thinking is essential for successfully integrating new employees into your organization, we are doing all of this. Stay with us throughout this 3 hours, And let's give it a try to dive into all this very, very important information. So the HR Global Summit is organized by HR Cafe, a community-centered educational platform offering a wide range of educational events on HR topics, as well as training programs, workshops, and the mastermind community for addressing businesses, challenges, and exchanging experiences. Check out the link in the chat that we are sending to you to learn more about HR Cafe and join our community to gain access to more events and connect with like-minded HR professionals as you are. So I would like to thank you already for joining us. It's a pleasure. Of course, I would love to meet you person to person, but still, we are adjusting to the times we are having, and I think it's a great opportunity that we can meet here online all together. So I really want you to welcome everyone here, and let's move to the first speaker. And our first guest opening our summit is Kemi Oi, a career coach and HR expert at the Career Doctor. Kemi, we are delighted to have you join us. If you hear us already or not, are you here with us or not? Yes, I can see you. Great, perfect. We're thrilled to kick off this spectacular evening, and of course, starting with you. So the floor is totally yours. Please say hello so that I could hear you and make sure that everything is great with connection.
Fantastic. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me okay?
Great, great, cool. So the floor is totally yours. Let's rock this party.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. It really is a pleasure to be here. So today I've got my, and I don't know if you can see my screen, but today I'm going to be talking to you about innovative approaches to employee training and development during onboarding, with a specific emphasis on gamification in employee training. So today I'm just going to cover very quickly a little bit about onboarding, because I think it's really important that we understand the importance of onboarding and some of the facts that I've seen from statistics across the globe in terms of why it's important, why onboarding is important. And then I'm going to go and talk about why bother using gamification, and then I'll look into the different types. So that's the whole presentation for this afternoon. I don't know if you're morning, what time are you over there, but it's afternoon here in the UK. So it really is a pleasure to be here. I'm excited and I can't wait. I can't see my audience, but I'm sure you can hear me, you can see me, and you can see my slides. If you can, I don't know, just say yes. Can I get a yes somewhere? Well, I'll just carry on anyway. I'll carry on, okay? So, let me move to my next slide. Ah, can anyone? Okay, fantastic. So you can see this. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a background as to what exactly is onboarding, right? And I've simply got here, it's the socialization process or mechanism through which new employees acquire the necessary knowledge, values, behaviors, and skills to become effective in their role. So it's really about how we integrate new employees such that they're able to acquire the required knowledge that they need to do a fantastic job. It's all that initial, what happens when somebody comes into an organization first. You know how they say first impressions really count, and that matters a lot when it comes to onboarding. I'll move to my next slide. Okay. Okay, so again, talking about this onboarding issue. So it's new employees are supposed to quickly understand their tasks. So what are they meant to do? Their internal processes. So what are the systems, the policies, the processes? And also, not just that, familiarizing themselves with their colleagues. So it's all encompassing. It's all about how do I fully embed? How do I make sure that I'm on board in this organization? Software tools can really help, especially mobile applications, and those are seen as an innovative way of supporting the process. So it's very seamless, it's modern, it can be done even in a remote way. Sorry, I'm getting my words twisted. So it can be done in a remote way, and this is why we're going to talk about gamifications in a way that you see how it enhances onboarding processes. It's really important onboarding, as I've said, and I'm going to talk about some interesting facts about onboarding in general, just so you understand why it's important to get it right at this stage. Okay? Um, so the next slide looks at some onboarding facts. Now, according to statistics for onboarding employees, the new average hire, so the new person who's coming to the organization, is expected to complete 54 activities during their onboarding process. Now, that is a lot. 54 activities, you can imagine 54 different things from when they start throughout the whole process. That's a lot of let me just put this on. I think I may have moved it ahead in advance of. Yeah, so that's it, 54 activities. And these activities are really to help employees feel fully integrated and help them understand the rudiments, the ethics of the organization. Okay. Another thing about onboarding is new employees with good onboarding experience. So if they've had a fantastic experience, get this, they're 18 times more committed to their employer. So if you've got an employee whose onboarding experience is fantastic, they are 18 times more committed to their employer. So that simply means that onboarding is not only about educating, it's not only about telling, it's about how do you imbibe the company culture into somebody who's new in the organization and keeping them engaged at the same time. So in this space, they understand their role in the organization. So what exactly am I to do? And it gives them a really good sense of belonging in terms of I'm a part of this organization. It impacts on their loyalty, and it talks about the fact that disengaged employees, so if you have an onboarding process that's not integrative, that's not engaging, in the US, this is statistics from Bamboo HR. In the US, in the year 2022, I think this was, the cost to the employer was totaling 450 billion to 500 billion dollars in waste, simply because they've not done the onboarding process properly or they've not engaged in the way that they should. So really important statistic about onboarding. Let me move to the next slide. I'm not sure why this isn't working as it should. Okay, so the next slide then, again, some more interesting facts about onboarding. When employees participate in the most extensive onboarding program, so let's say they have this for up to a year, they attain proficiency 34 times faster than the people who haven't. So it simply says that the longer the better. But of course, there needs to be a balance between how long is too long and how long is not long enough, because you don't want a situation where you've got people in a program for almost a year. I mean, that seems a long time. Between, for up to a year, you don't want people to feel, "Ah, this is a bit too much now. I just want to get on with it." So it really just talks about the longer it is, the better. It enables them to embed, to blend in with the company culture, and it also enables them to hit the ground running, in terms of no hitches when they get on board finally. Um, Another statistics from Strategic HRM says a great onboarding experience ensures that 69% of employees stick with the same company for 3 years. So again, there's a high rate of employees staying within the organization for up to 3 years if they've had a great onboarding experience. Again, it just stresses the importance of having a fantastic experience. I'll move to the next slide. Oops. Onboarding statistics reveal that assigning a mentor, so if during the process of onboarding, an employee has a mentor or a buddy, right, it also increases the efficiency of the person who's starting in the organization. So 87% of organizations that assigned a mentor agreed to this statistic. So generally, in summary, a positive onboarding experience can bring to the table employee retention. Again, I've talked about 69% of employees would stay for 3 years or longer. So if you're looking for retention, you need to look for your onboarding process. Employee performance, their confidence is boosted, their ability to do their job is even greater because you've given them the right tools, the right skills, the right support, the right training that they need from the start. Teamwork. You will see when I come to talk about some of the things about gamification that when they work as a team, it encourages connection between teammates and it makes working together easier, having the right processes. And of course, it fosters the right working environment to want people to do more than just their job. So it allows people to go over and beyond what they've been assigned to do in an organization. I'll move to the next slide. Okay, so this is the one before the next slide. So according to automating onboarding statistics, right? It really talks about the importance of automation in onboarding, and it simply says that tasks done can improve the retention rates even further. So when you have a typical learning environment where people are sat down and they're learning, this statistic says that when the process of onboarding is automated, retention is greater than when you just have your bog standard onboarding in the traditional way. Again, that has a knock on effect on employee retention rates. So, 26 in this survey, 26.5% of HR professionals say that onboarding technology is missing from their onboarding programs. So as a result, HR professionals want to know more about how we can use this technology in the onboarding programs that they have on board. Okay, and the way what they've said is onboarding technology is the way of the future. We need to embed this and engage more with technology that allows for this to be possible. Because don't forget, if you have a great onboarding experience, it's likely going to improve retention, it's going to improve experience, it's going to improve so many different factors. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is the organization is productive, performance is greater, so it benefits both individual and the organization at large. I'm moving to my next slide. And this talks about gamification. So, in an employee onboarding setting, gamification simply means adding different elements to make the experience more fun, more competitive, and engaging. Now, you will agree with me that If I just sat here and was talking at you and had to deliver a presentation that was very, very dry, that didn't have any life, that didn't have anything that was relatable, at some point you're going to disengage. You're going to stop listening to me. You're going to stop hearing what I'm saying, because that's just human nature. The minute you inject a story, a fun, something competitive, it switches the energy. It switches your attention. So if I suddenly sat here and said, let's play a game, I wonder how many people are going to go, yes, okay, what's this game about? The interest will shift. And that's the whole essence of trying to inject gamification into the onboarding process such that it's not boring. I remember in one of my jobs when I had to go through an induction period. So it was through the onboarding process. I had to meet with several different people over a course of a whole month. At some point, I completely disengaged because it became very repetitive. It became a bit boring. It became a bit like, oh, I just want to get on with it now, because it wasn't engaging in the way. So I had to sit down in class and listen to someone speak, and there wasn't anything for me to even engage with other people that were being hired at the same time. And this is why it's important to make it more effective. Now, what does that say to you as an organization if the first impression I have is, oh, this is a boring organization and I'm not sure about this organization? It just has that knock on effect in the longer run. So you want to make whatever you do, whatever features you have, you want to make it very strategic. So you want to include games-based elements such as competition, scores, rewards, just to increase and boost morale and to motivate employees at the beginning of their jobs. It's highly motivating when people come into an environment that allows them to come in with people are generally competitive, right? So if I said to you, I'm going to give you something, if you can repeat my first 5 sentences, chances are you're going to completely glue to what I'm saying and try to listen as much, because I've injected an element of fun. I've injected an element of, what is she going to say? It's like that suspense. That's, oh, who's going to win? That's that sort of thing. So it just makes learning more fun. Learning experience, again, creating highly immersive techniques. And I'm going to come and talk about some of the techniques and some of the things that we can use. But it's about learning experiences through virtual reality-based learning environments. And again, using some features, as I've said, leaderboards, so who's in the lead, points tables, how many points have you got, badges to show that, this is what I've got. In McDonald's, for example, I don't know if I'm guessing it's across the world, in McDonald's, where an individual goes in as a fresh person, they're very new and they're still learning the ropes. And after about say a month, where they've graduated from learning how to make fries to learning how to make burgers, they get a badge. And as they progress, they get another badge and another badge and another badge. And you will often see people with, say, a number of different badges to show that they're competent, to show that, they've been through the levels of training and they've gathered the right experience and they are qualified to do a great job. So that, again, is motivating, and it encourages a spirit of competitiveness amongst new hires. Because if, for example, you've got 3 new hires and one person's got 1 badge and other people have got 2 or 3 badges, then it just creates that competitiveness amongst new hires. And that's not to make people feel bad, but it's just to make people go, right, I'm going to be next and I'm going to get a badge next. Okay, so my next slide then is why use gamification. I think I've covered some of these things. It increases engagement and productivity. So where you have complex or repetitive chores, they're presented in a more challenging manner that enables people to want to do more. It allows for the goals of the organization to be met because employees' experience and satisfaction is gained. There's more self motivation, and it just increases their sense of purpose altogether. So they're engaged, they're highly productive, and it helps the organization generally. It encourages social interaction and teamwork. I talked about this, where people work together as a team. And not only that, but when it comes to working in the real world, in the organization, that learning, that social interaction, that sense of togetherness that they've developed during their onboarding is taken all the way through the employee life cycle. So they develop a sense of bonding, a sense of like mindedness, and typically they work together better, they have shared goals, and they are more likely to do more as a team. They're more likely to bond well. They're more likely to, you know what they say about team effort. Together, everyone achieves more. TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. It fosters that bonding and that unified front which is always a good thing for the organization. It develops the corporate image. So again, it makes an organization or employer stand out. It makes you stand out as an employer of choice. It makes you stand out as an employer of the future, because obviously this is the way the future of this is the future of work. We really want to keep, especially the millennials, especially the younger generations. If we're able to do this, then it just attracts. So apart from it being a way to retain, if people on the outside are aware of this is what we do in the organization, then it attracts the right people into the organization. It fosters creativity and innovation. So again, it's about bringing your A game to the table. So how creative can you be in that space of gamification during onboarding? And it also provides calls to action. So it really tells you what needs to happen next, what do you do next, and it's that step-by-step action that allows you to move from one stage to the other. Okay. The next slide then, how gamification improves. I think I've talked about this, so I'm not going to really labor it. It's an automated process. It enables for knowledge retention. So I shared a statistic earlier about retaining knowledge better than just sitting in a room and learning and just writing notes. It aids retention because there are tools in the process or things in the process that allows you to test the knowledge that's been gained through the whole process. It allows you to set goals and acknowledge achievements. So where individuals are doing amazingly through this process, it makes them feel like, oh, I've achieved something, and it acknowledges that they've done something, they've achieved something, they're doing well, they're not doing so well. It just acknowledges what they've gathered so far. And it allows for you to track and monitor performance in terms of how they are doing throughout the onboarding process. So my next slide then looks at gamification in onboarding. So when you're considering whether to integrate gamification into learning and development, you need to have a structure and a framework to participate, to get the maximum results. You need to have a really good framework that allows for this to happen. My next slide. Right. So here are some of the things that need to be considered when you are structuring it, when you're thinking of gamification in onboarding, right? All these steps can lead to better learning and retention, and ultimately, as I've said, increase the bottom line results. Clearly describe the challenge before them. So again, what exactly is it that we want to do? If you don't clearly describe what you want to do, how are they going to monitor whether they're successful or not? So provide an explanation. Make sure that the implementation and focus should be on the learning and expected outcome. So don't get sidetracked by the activities. It's about what are you going to learn in this process? What are your learning objectives? Okay, so don't focus so much on the points and badges and leaderboards. It's really about the learning that they're going to gain through that process. What are they going to take away in that process? The next slide looks at the most effective gamification efforts. Again, I will talk about this at some point down my slides, but it entails elements of the story, challenge, and continual feedback throughout the process. My next point talks about several platforms, and I'm going to talk about that when I come to the learning portals and so on and so forth. It really is about using some elements that make sure that the learners don't play an entire game from start to finish. So they participate in some of the relevant activities, so including the videos and mobile games in accomplishing a task. My next slide, because I'm just going to skip that. I know it's a bit wordy. So, gamification does not typically occur in a classroom. Of course, we know this, right? It's delivered, and this is really, really good because it allows for that flexibility to happen. It allows for people working in a remote way to engage in the same way as somebody who's in a classroom. So, it's often delivered to a learner's computer, tablet, or smartphone, right? In short bursts, so in 2 to 5 minutes, for example, increments. It's a formal structure, but learners can engage with the content when and wherever they happen to be. So again, they could be anywhere in the world, but they're engaging in the same way, in the same space as anyone as anyone. Content for gamification varies, but it's often focused on safety policies, product specifications, customer service, onboarding new employees, and other information that they need to be reminded of regularly. Okay, so it's not meant to be learned in one setting, it's learned across a variety of different settings. Okay. This just talks about really there's no single training approach to employees. So again, it's about making sure that, and this is about busting a myth around people who feel, well, if you're over a certain age, then you won't engage. No, that's not true. Everyone likes games, regardless of how you put it. Everyone, because there's something about, games, about word or board games or puzzles, and there's a statistic here that says 80% of those of people aged, so there was a study of over 50 people aged over 50, and it was called You're Never Too Old to Play. 48% of adults aged 50 or older say they play video games. So again, 80% of those play weekly, while 45% play daily. So if you've got a demographic in your organization that has a whole lot more of the older generation, this is saying that actually you can still adopt this and they will be highly engaged in the process. Okay. My next slide then looks at okay, so again, more about gamification in onboarding. It's helpful for scenarios where leaders have to continually update their knowledge, update the workforce knowledge. I've talked about this, so I don't want to go here. My next slide. Right, so this is where we talk about the examples of onboarding gamification. Learning portals. This is combining various elements into a single portal for access. So there are different things into a single place, but using learning portals. Responsive solutions. This is really good for millennials or the younger generations because it allows for them to engage productively. And this entails audience-specific onboarding techniques. It includes responsive design, and social learning. It's a very interactive way of using visual features. So people who learn visually, this is fantastic for them. Instead of using voice or text or other things, this is more focusing on visuals. And you will agree that people learn in different ways. So injecting this into the whole system really works, particularly for millennials and younger generations. Okay. The third one's about theme-based learning approaches. This is where you use interactive videos, you use assessments, you use quizzes, and it focuses on specific themes that you want that you want employees to learn. So you categorize things by themes. Immersive designs is really about 360 degrees based videos to deliver a gamified real world experience. And this is through virtual reality imaging. So I went to watch a movie recently where I felt I literally was in the movie. It's the use of virtual reality to make you feel like you're in it and you're engaging, and it's highly engaging because it almost feels like you're inside and you're engaging and you're participating in the process. High recall visual imagery is a little bit more of that. So it's high impact imagery using illustrated diagrams, infographics, depicting real life work situations. It uses bold visual content and it helps memorize and retain information. This is really, really high. It's quite good for people again who are visual, who like to see pictures, who like real life examples. And the final one there is story based onboarding, which is really work related storylines to deliver induction oriented learning experiences. And this can happen in hybrid workplaces. Now, Deloitte was an example of an organization that have adapted this story based onboarding, and they've used it to integrate employees, and it's led to a greater engagement, greater motivation, and just greater integration amongst employees. So I think that's the end of my presentation. So to summarize, I've showed you the importance of onboarding in terms of why it's important to onboard. I've showed you why it's important to use gamification as an innovative approach. So it's no more about, we're just going to onboard people and go through the 54 activities. It's really about how do you engage with people such that they have a fantastic experience. And in that process, in fact, it reduces your hiring costs because you don't have to advertise as much. Word of mouth is so powerful. If you've got people who are fantastic, who are engaged in the onboarding process, they will share with other people the amazing experience that they've had with the organization. And people would want to work for the organization simply because I've had an amazing experience. And actually, I'm going to share with my friends that, for example, this organization is a great place to work and it reduces your hiring cost, it increases your retention, you have more engaged staff, it improves your performance, productivity, and profitability. Generally, you will have a good employee experience, you will have loyalty and trust, you will have lots of people stay. We saw the statistics for 3 years or more in the organization. And generally, it's an inclusive approach. So, for example, if you have in your organization a percentage of people with a disability, in terms of how they learn, how they engage, gamification is a fantastic way to include all sorts of people who are neurodivergent, all sorts of people. It's just an inclusive way of capturing, of attracting, retaining, and ensuring that employees have an amazing life cycle in your organization. I hope that has been helpful. I will stop speaking because I think my time is absolutely up. And so, yes, that's me done. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was really very helpful and inspiring, and thank you for sharing all the information. But please stay with us because we are having some more minutes. I hope you have them with the questions from the audience, yeah?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So we have questions from the audience. So this is the first one from Maria Atanasova. What we have to do if one of the new hires feels bad if they do not receive badges or rewards?
So it's really about the learning. So the badges is just a reward. Okay, so we don't want to make people feel, oh, you're not doing as much as you can. So I think in an environment that you feel, I think I'm echoing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. In an environment, so what you don't want to do is make people feel bad that I've only got one, you've got two, you've got three. To some extent, it improves on competitiveness. It does. But on the other hand, it's about the conversations you have around, right, okay, so why have they got two badges? Why have they got three badges? What are you doing that will allow you to get two or three or more? So it's not really about making them feel bad. It's about, okay, what learning do you need to acquire to make sure that you're not left behind? And I think it's just really about how you make them feel. It's about how you engage in conversations. It's about learning and sharing in a team, for example. So if in a team, they're in the lead, so the leading team might want to say, well, this is what we've done. So it's about sharing and learning amongst each other so that you're pulling each other up and you're learning. And there's nothing wrong with healthy competition, but as long as it doesn't make people feel really bad. That's what I would say.
Let's emphasize healthy. Well, the next question is moving on with this topic, but diving a little bit more from Theodora. How can gamification be maintained after onboarding and include all employees, and how often should this be initiated, and how we can engage employees who may be reluctant regarding these initiatives?
Yeah, so it's about the culture that you want to embed in the organization. So if you are a learning organization, right, it's about changing people's hearts and minds. There'll be people who will be resistant and there'll be people who will be pro, yes, let's do this, right? It's about how do you have those conversations to say, this is where we're going in the future. This is the organization, this is what we believe in. And it's about sharing the benefits. So how is it going to help the organization? How is it going to make sure that we are a thriving organization? We are a world-class organization. How do we make sure that we position ourselves globally? And how do we send that message? How do we sell that message? It's about getting champions within the organizations to say, maybe you're the gamification champions or ambassadors, and they believe in it. And therefore, how do you go and integrate this message amongst people so that they buy into it? And we use the right people to sell this message. We use the right people to say, yes, okay, I believe in it because these are the benefits that it will deliver. Now, then we can start to say, why are you so reticent about it? What are your concerns about it? Let's have a conversation. Oh, and if it's like, well, it's because we just don't want change, then there's no real valid reason. So it's about finding out what's the resistance and breaking those barriers to make sure that the organization is seen as a learning organization, as a forward-thinking organization, as an organization that wants to engage with everyone and wants to just not do things in the old traditional way, because this is the way to retain and improve performance, as the statistics have shown.
Okay, great. One more from Eugen. What is the expected time frame to see actual first results from an employee? Can, by the way, any period of time after starting work at a company be considered as a norm? Do we have something like this or not?
So I haven't seen any specific time frame, and I think the reason is every organization is different.
Have any
So
statistics about that?
I haven't seen any, I haven't come across any, so I won't say I have. But what we saw in my presentation was up to a year, up to a year. There's greater retention, so there's benefits up to a year. Now, I would say again, some organizations can't do a year because of the nature of the services they provide. So it will really depend on what you're doing, what services you offer, what exactly is the nature of your business. Some businesses are very fast turning and they've got a high, so you can't really go, well, we'll just onboard you for a year, because it just can't work. So it really depends on the nature of the industry you're in and the nature of the services that you provide.
It really depends. I can see it. Well, maybe we can be more clear in the question of the roles. There is a very interesting question: how to distribute roles in the company for creating onboarding programs with gamification elements. How important is involving the manager of a new employee? And then, is the onboarding program the responsibility of the HR department, while managers consult based on their specific area of expertise?
Okay, that's a lot. I'll try and
Well, but
answer that.
it's all around one thing, but from different corners. So I know you have the answer.
So the line, it's very, very, very important for line managers to buy into this. It's very, very important. At the end of the day, line managers are there because they have a responsibility to the organization and for the employees. They have a very fundamental role to play in anything to do with introduction of new processes, new systems, anything new. Line managers have a absolute responsibility, and this is why in an organization, anyone that works in a line manager capacity really has to buy into the mission of the organization, the vision of the organization, the purpose of the organization. If you have a line manager or a set of people who do not align with the vision, the mission, the purpose, and everything the organization stands for, then they're not going to do a great job in trying to sell or in trying to disseminate what needs to be done around gamification. So very, very fundamentally, line managers need to be on board. Line managers need to understand themselves, what it entails, what it involves, how to do it. So there needs to be, and I get the role of HR in terms of how does HR come in to upskill, to make sure that the line managers are fully equipped to be able to do this, right? So HR have a massive role to play in terms of, it's almost like, and it depends on different organizations do different things. They do it differently. So in some organizations, HR train the line managers and the line managers run with it. In some organizations, HR keeps hold of it and they hold the ring on it and they say, right, HR run out this program and we do it solely. So it really depends on how your organization is set up. But fundamentally, line managers have a major role to play. They need to have the buy-in. They need to be skilled to do it, because there's no point in, how can you tell someone to do something if you don't know how to do it yourself? So you need to be skilled. You need to know how to do it. And you need to know how to come up with, are there challenges? How do you fix things? There needs to be a system of support in place to make sure that people know who to go to when things don't work, who to go to, who's the best person to fix this, and it's done in an open and encouraging way. In a collaborative way is what I would say. So if people are not buying into it, they would really need to think about what's the resistance, break that down, and make sure that everyone is on board. And if at the end of it, you've done all you can and people are still not buying into it, then maybe you need to consider whether they're right for the organization and right for where the organization is going.
Yeah, pretty reasonable. We have always to see what's working and what's not for you and for your organization and for yourself. And the last question from Kudzai Sopotsa. I'm sorry if I do my pronunciation wrong. For new startup businesses, how do they incorporate onboarding without using software but achieve the same effect?
So for new businesses, I mean, there are alternatives, isn't it? It's about how do you make sure it's about the experience. So if you're a new business and you feel you can't afford it, it's out of your reach, then you need to find other ways of achieving the same outcome. So rather than there you go, this is what you do, try to incorporate ways in which people can learn differently. So whether it's storytelling, whether it's case studies, whether it's how do we learn from other organizations, how do we learn from other business. So it's not just focused on I'm sitting here and I'm telling you what to do. It's how do we create that environment that allows for people to learn in different ways. So maybe finding out from them, how best do you learn? How best can you take this information in? So it's really about considering what options do I have within the finances that I have available? How can I make sure that it's not boring, it's not one dimensional, and it's thinking broadly around people learn in different ways. So how can I deliver this training? How can I deliver this? How can I onboard people in a way that gets them excited? So maybe one day you're showing them around different organizations, you're meeting different people, so it's about thinking and doing things differently based on within your financial envelope that you have.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being today with us and sharing such an important information for our HR field. Hope it reaches the more people we can. So thank you once again. You can say the last word and we're moving on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great. So onboarding technologies are really important, as we can see, and if we want to improve employee retention rates. And the more, I'd say, the more technological the onboarding, the better. I'm pretty sure you will agree with me. So there can be no other option on this matter. LMS systems can help in this regard, and how to make successful onboarding with these systems in just 2 minutes with Daria Petrakovska's help. Well, everyone wants to find the key ingredients for success, ideally discovering a scalable success formula. Our next guest, HRD of EdTech company Sreda, Daria Petrakovska, will share her experience with successful onboarding. Daria, do you believe you possess this scalable formula? What are the key tools for efficient and seamless new employee integration?
Nika, it's great to see you. It feels like only yesterday we were discussing the impact of global shocks on the role of HR specialists. It's incredibly gratifying to be invited as a speaker at such events. I truly believe that to make this world better, we need to unite as professionals, ideological leaders, and knowledge carriers. And yes, you are 100% right. Today I will reveal my scalable formula for successful onboarding based on both our companies and our clients' multiple experience. So let's discuss the key tools for high quality and repeat integration for new employers. Let me remind our listeners a little bit about myself. My name is Daria Petrakovska. I'm head of HR at tech company Sreda. My experience in HR is more than 8 years, and today I will share my experience with you, my listeners. Have you heard anything about the employer life cycle? Please leave a plus in the chat for choose who have and who hear about this. I'm waiting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh-huh. Thank you for your answers. I saw someone hear about this. Look in this diagram. The diagram shows the standard life cycle of the employer in a company. It's the first step in the attraction. Second, hiring or recruitment. Next, onboarding. Next, development, retention, and separation. Today, we will talk more about one of the stage, onboarding. Onboarding is an independent business process, has its own cycle as well. First step is impressions. The onboarding process begins at the stage of the search and selection of personnel. Make sure that these touch points form a positive first impression of your company. Give the candidate the impression that your company is a great career opportunity for him or her. Next step is onboarding. The onboarding process is a journey, and new employers will need a roadmap. It should include a warm welcome on the first day, painless access to passes, work system mentoring, first task, theoretical training. Next step is the integration. Happy employers are more efficient, productive, and loyal. That's why you need to pay special attention to social inclusion. How does a new employer get use the team? Has he or she established a connection with the right people? World-class companies don't leave the social aspect of adaptation to chance. To quickly form successful working relationships, introduce the new employer to colleagues and select a mentor for them. Next step is immersion. The most effective way to learn is to learn by doing. Use immersive learning methods to improve the adaptation process. Role-playing is an ideal way to develop customer-centric behavior skills for call center agents and retailers. Business simulations can help manager make the right decisions by acting our reactions to the variety of situations. Virtual reality, VR, offers an amazing immersive learning experience. It can be effectively used to familiarize new employers with dangerous or inaccessible environments. Complex equipment and emergency situations that are almost impossible to simulate with traditional training methods. Next step, this is autonomy. Create a blended learning ecosystems that supports self-directed, independent learning so that new employers can reach their full potential. The goal of their onboarding process is to equip new employees with the knowledge, skills, and connection they need to perform their job responsibilities effectively. However, onboarding is only part of a broader ecosystem that high-performing organizations create to support continuous learning in the workplace. Once new employers have the necessary knowledge and confidence to become more autonomous, they will begin to use knowledge based to complete daily tasks, as well as engage in self-directed learning and work on development and career growth. Pulse check meetings are also an important step in the onboarding process. I do not single them out as a separate stage because it is a cyclical process. And in the first months, once a week, HR meets with the newcomer to keep a finger on the pulse of how his adaptation is going and answers questions that arise. Also, once a month, the newcomer has a meeting to discuss the results of the period with HR, a manager, and a mentor. At this meeting, it is important for us to get feedback from newcomer, understand trends in their productivity, behavior, summarize the result of the previous period, and check for the relevance of tasks for the next period. I'm not going to talk about the importance of this process, as I'm sure we all understand it perfectly well. I'll just show you some numbers. Facts confirming the importance and necessity of onboarding. Employers whose onboarding experience was negative are twice as likely to look for a new job in near future. Organizations with good onboarding increase the productivity of new employers by 70% and their retention by 82%. 95% of companies with low turnover have a structured onboarding process and only 20% with high turnover. According to Forbes, 88% of hired professionals believe that their onboarding was ineffective. Onboarding is somewhat similar to architecture for me. Just like the construction of a building, the success of new employer at work depends on how well the foundation was laid. However, companies often do not pay due attention to the adaptation process, and then they correct mistakes with excessive recruitment costs due to the constant outflow of personnel or even gradually tarnish their own employer brand. The main tasks of onboarding is to successfully immerse a new employer in the course of business, to get to know the team, explain the peculiarities of company's culture, and adapt to the workflow. An indirect task of onboarding is also to retain a new employer in the position. Encourage them to work and develop with the company. In addition to direct compliance with the initial requirements, The success of adaptation is measured by employers passing the probationary period, the final quality of the hire, the achievement of the anniversary of the date of entry into the position. The reason for this can be found in another study prepared by the Human Capital Institute. Thus, 58% of companies are focused on process and various related paperwork during onboarding. At the same time, the average duration of the entire process is only 7 days. This creates a number of problems, and now we're talking about this with you. Information bombardment on the first working day, abstract requirements for the employer, and inconsistency of expectation of both sides. Superficially execute supporting documentation on working moments. Unspecified important information due the fails assumption that a new employer already knows what's what. What helps to quickly and efficiently adapt employers? Let's stop for a moment. I want you to share your thoughts now in the chat. Can you write me, please, now in the chat, your opinions at these questions? I'm waiting. You have like 20-30 seconds to write your opinion about what can help. Okay, I see some answers. Thank you for this. Onboarding is more than just a process of adaptation of a newcomer in the first days. It's a long process, the consequences of which remain tangible for a long time. Gradual immersions in the company's culture, the same understanding of the corporate culture by employers is a determining factor for their long-term cooperation with the company. After all, common values and vision motivate to achieve goals and generally simplify teamwork. Therefore, one of the tasks of onboarding is to consistently introduce the company's culture. On the one hand, it's necessary to explain why the company exists, what is graduated by, and how it realizes its goals. On the other hand, it's necessary to create conditions for the new employer to finally turn into the same wavelengths as the team. The consequence of a proper introduction to the company's culture is the creation for a deeper connection and greater loyalty to it. Understand the impact of the employer on the company. It's one thing when an employer is positioned as a cog in a big machine on whom nothing depends. It's another when an employer clearly understands that his or her work is a contribution to the company's goals, an important element that is necessary for further development. This can be done by moderate independence in making decisions on the implementation of tasks. Participation in discussions and planning, which gives an opportunity to express one's opinion and discuss work issue on an equal footing, emphasizing the importance of a fresh vision. A different vision from the usual one that new employers often come with can provide an impetus that will take the company to the next level. But sometimes onboarding, or rather that lack of normal onboarding, negates the possibility of a positive contribution. The actual presentation of onboarding is sometimes aimed at merging the new employer's vision with the company's vision. Then during the adaptation to the new place, the employer loses his or her fresh look and becomes one of the many. It's why it's important for company management to communicate that a new employer is important not only because he or she knows how to work, but also because he or her fresh point of view helps the company change for the better. The advantages of this approach are that it allows you emphasize the employer's opportunities for self-realization in the new place, and at the same time communicates self-realization as an aspect for the employer's value position. Use of advanced technologies, the acquaintance of employer onboarding can be enhanced by using advanced tools that help with learning and understanding work programs. Many of them imply the speed and accessibility of training, as well as allow you to segment users and customize individual seniors. In our company, we used 3DLMS system since our entire team has been working remotely since the beginning of the war in Ukraine. This tool has helped us to a lot in onboarding new employers. In my opinion, it's a fairly easy to use technology and the user interface is friendly. Uses microlearning, it makes its possibility to simultaneously launch training and different industries in different parts of the country and the world, and has adapted mobile version. With this platform, it's possible to use several forms of training simultaneously. There is no need to make many of these settings. We help our clients with technical support of the program. You can create certificates after completing the course. You can find the link on the LMS website here in the slide. You also have the opportunity to register for free consultation, where a specialist will give you clear instructions on how to implement 3DLMS in your company. And well, my presentation has come to an end. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dasha. Thank you very much. Thank you for your information and such a good presentation. Unfortunately, we have to stick to the timing, so no time for additional questions, but I hope we will do it with the next speaker. And right now, I want to remind you that the HR Global Summit is organized by HR Cafe, which is a community-centered education platform. Our mission is to empower and connect HR professionals, so I'm talking about you right now, fostering a dynamic and inclusive community that drives innovation and excellence in the human resources field. HR Cafe unites HR professionals who share the same core values, providing an ideal environment for networking and abundant educational opportunities. So join the platform and discover the perfect circle for networking and learning. Well, and here we go. We all strive to make our work more efficient, which I'm pretty sure we really are. But what does this efficiency truly mean? So our next speaker, our next guest, her name is Anna Shishianu, Human Resources Director at Fusion Works. She will guide us through the complex world of key metrics and analytics that help measure the effectiveness of onboarding programs. So Anna, we're delighted to have you with us today. And I'd say that without further ado, let's be honest, everyone is eagerly awaiting for your presentation. You're here, I can see you. Let's start.
Sure.
Great, I can hear you good. So
thanks,
the floor
Nika,
is
for
yours.
presenting me. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Nika, for presenting me. Thanks, Frida and HR Cafe for organizing such an interesting and productive summit. My name is Anna. I'm from Moldova. Hope at least someone here knows where it is. We've already had two fantastic presentations. Mine will be like another piece to complete this memorable puzzle called onboarding journey. To be honest, it was very effortless for me to choose the topic I will speak about, as I believe HR is all about numbers, and only numbers may objectively illustrate an organization. So, if you are ready, fasten your seatbelt and let's start. Just one moment. I see myself twice and no presentation, but it's just okay. Now it's bad for me. Thanks. Here I try to list the top 5 reasons why onboarding matters. I will not repeat what was already said, so we will speak only about reasons why onboarding really matters. A successful onboarding program helps new employees integrate into the company cultures. A successful onboarding program makes new employees understand their role within the organization. A successful onboarding program increases employee engagement, reduces turnover, and improves overall productivity. As mentioned earlier, HR is all about numbers. This is why we know and we use a huge number of different key metrics. Some of them are very easy to monitor. Some of them are really difficult to identify. But what is well known is that not every single key metric is useful for every HR stage. So today we will speak only about metrics that are representative for onboarding programs. I listed 10. You will help me understand if these are enough or if we need something else. First one is cost to hire. Knowing and measuring this key metric, we may reduce costs and optimize the onboarding process. Cost per hire is nothing else than cost for recruitment, training, and other expenses. Time to fill. Knowing this key metric, we may speed up the hiring process and reduce the time it takes to onboard new employees. Time to fill a vacancy is the time between the vacancy was opened and the time when a new employee starts work. Quality of hire. This is about this may help improve your hiring and understand the success of your onboarding by analyzing job performance, engagement level, and the possibility of employers to be with you for a long period of time. Employee retention. Knowing this metric, you may understand if new hires feel supported and valued or no. Employee retention is the percentage of new hires who remain with the company for a certain period of time. Compliance. Maybe this is my best one. I believe that compliance means not only if a new employee understands the rules of the company, but if a person understands and feels that rules. If we just read some rules and we do not feel them, we do not believe in them, it's not possible to be compliant with company's rules. Next one is learning and development. It's about the level of which new hires are ready to learn and develop new skills. Time to productivity. This key metric includes some other sub-key metrics, such as sale targets, project completed rates, or others. And this means nothing else than how long it takes for a new employee to be productive in his or her new role. Employee engagement. Knowing this key metric, we may understand if it's more likely to be productive and remain in our organization for a long period of time, or if the new hire will leave us very, very soon. Manager feedback. Managers are first-handed knowledge of performance and integration into the team of a new employee. This is why his or her feedback is really consistent. Cost of turnover. It's much easier to onboard the person you already found that start every time all over the recruiting process and look for someone else. And some problems at all. I see myself twice and no slides. Okay. It's very nice to know numbers, but it's much nicer to understand how you can use these numbers and how you can calculate these numbers. Analyzing onboarding metrics help us make correct decisions. What is the importance and what decisions could be made by analyzing key metrics? Here, I try to list 6 best of them. Let's call them so. So, analyzing key metrics may help you understand and act into employee retention, increasing productivity of your team, building a strong employee engagement, job satisfaction and improved performance, and of course, one of the most important for everyone, optimizing costs. Next 2 slides in next 2 slides, I will describe some real examples, but till we will start this, I really want everyone who participated today in this great meeting to write in comments what are your favorite key metrics. Why key metrics are you using daily or sometime some daily, weekly, or monthly? Please, I need just names of your top 3. You will have just 10 seconds for this. I hope everyone who wants to write will do this. But only 10 seconds, as if someone do not want to write, not to get bored. Five seconds. Okay, I listed 6, not 3, and I will want to describe these 6. But if I would need to choose from these 6 3, I also may do this as well. Let's imagine that you have a key metric called time to productivity and you realize that it is high. This means a new hire needs a lot of months to start becoming productive. This means the company is paying his or her salary, but nothing is really done. This means a lot of stress along his team because some of his colleagues do not understand why it's so long for someone to understand what is going on. But to be honest, this is not a problem of that new employee. All we can do to lower this metric is to provide additional training and support for your new employees. Maybe the training you provide are not sufficient, and maybe they really need something else. Number 2 will be manager satisfaction metric, and this metric is low in our example. I will believe it if you will be asking why it is important to analyze manager satisfaction and what manager satisfaction is doing with employees and their onboarding. As you remember, some slides ago, we spoke about manager feedback, and we agreed that this is very, very, very special, as the manager is the first person that communicate with the, sorry, just 2 seconds. Let's imagine our manager had 6 different new hires, and his feedback was every time very, very bad. Of course, we may think that all these 6 hires are not suitable, are not good at all, and have no idea what they're doing. But it is low probability that 6 persons from very different background could share the same results. This is why it is okay to try to evaluate manager's satisfaction in friends with onboarding program. If this metric will be low, as in our example, we will understand that the problem was not with new hiring, but the problem was that the manager had not sufficient training for supporting these new employees. If we will help the manager understand how to teach his or her new employees, it will be a win-win solution, as the manager will finally have his team, his or her team. He or she will be proud of himself or herself, as the team is productive due to his or her efforts and onboarding. And the new employees will also be super glad, as they will understand that someone is caring about them. Next one will be compliance metric, and this, in our case, will be low. This will mean that we need to understand and to review if all our programs, if all our documentation is available for everyone and is clear. Okay, next slide. Okay, it's moving. Great. Next one will be learning and development metric. If this K metric is low, we need to reevaluate our training programs and find out if everything we try to train the new employees are comprehensive and it's easier for them to understand. Cost per hire metric is high. What could be done in this situation? From my perspective, we may analyze 2 different ways. First of one is to use technology to automate repetitive tasks, link interviews or screening resumes. The second one will be analyzing recruitment data and understanding at which step is the problem. The 6th one will be employee retention rate, and it will be low. Here we may need to understand what is the most important for employees. What from our activities may engage them, and what from our activities may be okay. From examples that could come to my mind now are two: provide work-life balance and feedback, positive feedback. A lot of persons need to feel that their work is important and only we may help them. There are two ways of analyzing the data provided by K-Metrics. This could be done manually or using different analytic programs. Today we will be speaking only about manual analysis, as I have no mission to promote some tool. But in my presentation, we have three different tools that can be used, that can be experimented. Describing manual analysis, we will take a look to time to productivity metric and retention metric. Please take a look to the next chart. Here will be the task number 2 for everyone is hearing me and for everyone is looking to this presentation. The task is to try to understand this chart. What is this chart about? What conclusion is it hiding? What may we read and understand from this chart? I will also give you some time. It will be just 10 seconds this time. 5 seconds more. Okay. According to this chart, we may understand that in May, time to productivity was the fastest. We may also analyze who was responsible for onboarding on these new hires, in what department are working these new hires, what is the background and experience of these new hires, and why not, who chose them. This information will be used like a best practice, as we really need to multiply this result. Please take a look to this illustration. If a retention rate drops significantly at a particular point in time, the organization can review its onboarding program and make adjustments to address any issues that may be continuing to high employee turnover. As my today's reality is about HR and IT, I decided to share with you 3 tips and hints of onboarding in IT. These may be easily adapted and used in any other field, as well as our first speaker already spoke about gamification. I will speak very few words about this. But next ones are feedback and technology. Let's start with technology. Feel free to use in your onboarding programs online tools for training. Feel free to use different portals for accessing information. This could be done with handbook, different codes of ethics, job responsibilities, and different processes described. Tools for learning a new language. I'm sure at least once in your lifetime, you try to learn a new language using, if not a game, then an online tool. Why not to use this for onboarding as well? A new employee needs to understand where is his or her place in the organization. Why not to play with photos, for example, to have photos and to have names of departments. And the new hire in 1 or 2 months need to understand and to check if he or she remembers someone from his or her colleagues. Another interesting game will be a quiz or very small test, which will last up to 5 minutes. We may choose if we like to have information about our handbook, for example, or about job responsibilities, and play it like a quiz. Feedback. In our company, every new employee has at least 2 persons that every single week, for first 2 months, every single week, will ask different questions. Questions will be about feelings, questions will be about success, and questions surely will be about onboarding experience. How the team may help, how the team may provide some information that we thought was not necessary. This feedback received help both parts. New hiring is feeling safe and valued. Company better understands new needs and may adapt to its programs. Overall, measuring key metrics is crucial for success onboarding programs. By analyzing this data, organization can identify areas for improvement and increasing employee engagement. All of these contribute to a more productive, a more engaged, and a more successful organization. That's all from my side.
Great, thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yes?
Sure, yeah.
Great. So we are having questions from the audience. So the first one is from Mia. What department, in your opinion, is responsible for cost calculations? The finance department or the human resources department?
Both, surely both.
Both.
It's only the collaboration between, only the collaboration between HR and finance. Why HR? Because only we may understand the real importance, and only we may came with concrete decisions. Why is this or that needed? But only finance is responsible for the budget.
Okay. Then the second one from Eugen. Do you determine time to fill based on expert assessment or time tracking? Does it take into account both the full period and the manager's workload in completing the task?
Time to fill is about, not about this, or maybe you, John, or maybe I am not understanding the question. Time to fill is the time that is from, okay, today we decided we need one more person in our department, for example. And from today till the day that person starts works, this is the time to fill. It's not about tasks, it's not about manager.
Okay. Then we've got one more question. Could you briefly describe the process of building your analytics system?
A very interesting question. When any person wants to start something from zero, we need to understand what was done before us. This will be the first step. The second one is to understand the needs, because as I already said, there are a lot of key metrics, and I'm sure we do not have time to lose just to calculate something that is not important for us. The next step will be finding information about persons that will be involved in this process. And the next one is testing. We need to test something and to understand if it's work or not. If not, we'll need to try something better.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being today with us. And by the way, there are people from Moldova watching from the very beginning. They wrote a message in the chat. So it's all about being multinational, and thank you for putting your impact today in the Global HR Summit and our great work. So thank you very much, and hope we will see each other soon on the next summit. Okay, I'd love to add the next panel discussion on how does onboarding for a remote employee differ is starting just in about 2 minutes. Great. So we're ready to move on. It's not going to be just one speaker giving you a presentation, but a very nice, I really hope so, and I'm sure it will, panel discussion. So the focus of tonight's event is in the most efficient onboarding strategies to enhance employee retention. So our discussion would be incomplete, of course, if we didn't address the changes in the work of HR specialists in the post-pandemic environment. So we are now joined by our esteemed guests, and the first speaker is HR and Recruitment Manager at OpenTag from Bulgaria. Please meet Peter Drugansky. Peter, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I hope everyone that can see and hear me as well. Hello to everyone that's listening to us.
Yes, great. And you can already see our second speaker, the H in HR, International HR Consultant, Trainer and Coach at DARE from Romania, Corina Negu. Corina, very nice to meet you. For the second time. I love the experience of meeting you more and more from time to time on this summit. So once again, welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor and a pleasure at the same time for me too.
Great. So let's build up the dialogue. I have a couple of questions for you. Of course, you know all the topic. Let's just see whether it doesn't really matter who will answer first, but it's up to you to decide. And then maybe if in this answers we will end up with a dialogue between you, that would be great. Well, I really hope so. So the first one, what are the most significant challenges faced by companies when onboarding remote employees, and how can they be addressed?
Okay, so would you like to answer first?
Let the
ladies
speak
first.
Corina, you can
Okay.
go, please.
Corina.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, what I would like to say is that the recruitment process doesn't end with the employee signing the contract. Actually, to have a recruitment process, a successful recruitment process, you need to have the onboarding also. And the onboarding is quite an important part of all the recruitment process. So if you don't have it, then of course you cannot have a successful recruitment, in my perspective. At the same time, some companies struggle to have onboarding, including remote onboarding processes. Why? Because it's very difficult to keep people motivated and to keep people informed, and to schedule some meetings with them, and to try to explain to them remotely how the company is, which are the values, what are the expectations, to set objectives and things like that. But this period, the pandemic period, has shown us that we can do things differently, and of course has shown us different perspectives, even on the onboarding process, because we have virtual teams for many years now. It didn't happen only in the pandemic period. So what are they doing if they are all together in the same place? How do they do it? So actually what we need to understand is we can do this onboarding process, recruitment, onboarding, talent management, meetings, whatever. We can do it remotely very easily now, as long as we really care about our employees, and as long as we have discussed the needs. We know exactly what the employee needs. We know exactly what are the expectations from our candidates, and we are in partnership with them.
This
So
is
it's not
exactly
only-
what you put into the word "we care about them."
Exactly.
Okay.
We care about them. We show them respect. We show them that we can do it if we keep them close, and we find the ways together according to their needs also. So it's not only about the company's needs, the company's objectives, the company's strategy, it's also the onboarding is based on the candidate's needs at the same time. Because what we need at the end of the day is a complete employee, so that the employee has all the tools necessary in order to perform in the company. So that's my perspective so far.
Okay, Peter?
Unfortunately, I can't disagree with what you just with what you just said. Yeah, I have
But you
to
can
agree
add
with that.
something more to
Yes, please.
Of course, I hope so. I'll tell you a very short story about my company, OpenTAC.
yeah,
I
great.
joined the
We love
company.
experience. We love it.
Yes, and I'll tell you exactly what happened there. I joined the company 3.5 years ago, just before the pandemic started, and I was like the 13th or the 14th person in that company. We're an IT company. We have both offices in Bulgaria and in Ukraine. Back then, we were like 20 people in total. Now we are around 170, and we did the most of our growth in the months after the pandemic. We were not planned as a remote first or a hybrid company at all. We wanted initially people to come to the office and work from home from time to time. But with the pandemic, that changed everything. Like 95% of the people that I hired, we hired them online. And yes, of course, the first thing is about the candidates. The candidate onboarding begin with the recruitment itself. If your recruitment process is not fast, it's not agile, you don't care about the candidate, later on you wouldn't have a good onboarding process. And the pains of the onboarding process, they are simple. They are not. It's not rocket science. The biggest problem is that you're losing the face-to-face communication. The people that are working outside of the office, and some of them they never come to the office, they are hard to attach to the company's culture. So it's our job as HRs but it's mostly the manager's job because we are not the bosses of those people. Yeah, we might work with them from time to time, check them and so on, which is very important to see if the managers do their job. But we should train the managers to keep in touch with their people. Of course, if we speak about the HR part of the onboarding, we should do a lot of initiatives that are aimed at making these people feel better. And of course, if those people live, let's say, all of them in one city, it's very good to gather them from time to time. If they're completely remote, fine. Then we should do a lot of online events, which are not that interesting. But if we have the opportunity to make some gatherings for the people, which are not mandatory, of course, but let's say to have a dinner from time to time, or some games at the office, or some other place even, but the team should be together. This is the best form of onboarding. It's very old school. People do it from like the 50s in in some United States companies, but
Exactly.
this is working. And yeah, we're both from the Balkans. We know what our people love. They love to sit on the table, have a drink or two, have a salad with something stronger. This is the best form of onboarding for most people that are listening to us even now. This is not rocket science. If you show personal affection and things are going fine, yeah, this is working for sure.
So this is a short example of hospitality in Bulgaria. You probably already went through almost all the answers, but on the top, okay? Let's just dive into more. For example, from the first question, what do we see like the biggest challenge? I mean, is it the timing, or is it that you can see in person the person to person the employee, or is it something else that is like, I don't know, what is like the hardest part of this whole process?
Well, I think
not the hardest. The hardest is not the correct word, but the challenging one that the companies think of in the first place, I'd say.
I think the major challenge is actually that you don't see people around. You know, you cannot control them, you cannot manage them easily, and you have the impression as an employer that they can do something else. You know, they can cook, they can, I don't know, work out with their dogs, they can take care of their children while working, you know. And it's applicable also during the onboarding period. I mean, they don't pay attention to what you have to say to them because you cannot keep them connected all the time. Meanwhile, when you are in the office, you are physically there, it's much more easier for the employers to control you, to check upon you, to see how you are, to give you, yes, exactly. But actually, this is something, it's lack of self-trust for managers, because micromanagement is not encouraged anymore. And actually, this lack of trust gives us the lack of credibility from the candidates and from the new employees. Because if you micromanage, if you don't show respect, if you don't show empathy, if you don't understand the needs of your candidates and your current employees, actually, because they are not candidates anymore, they are your employees, then they will lose trust and they will leave. Even if you give them the tools to do their jobs, but you don't take care of them during this onboarding period and afterwards, of course, they will lose their trust and they will leave the company. More than 50%, 60% of the employees leave the companies during the probation period or during the onboarding period because they are not paid attention to. Their needs are not paid attention to. They are not listened. They are just given some things to listen to or some materials to read, and that's it. This is not onboarding.
So it's like the
I think this
company
is the
doesn't
major
involve
exactly
100%. So it's like you are an
They
observer. What can we
they
do with
just
that?
they just throw you in the ocean, without giving you any things to any help to swim. So I think that's the major challenge for both parts. I mean,
But I think that was a challenge even before the COVID and the virtual onboarding.
Definitely.
I had
I don't
experience
think we are
of
talking about COVID period. I think we are talking general, right? So yeah.
I think that when it started, things even get more to the extreme. But I had the experience myself that I'm starting in a new company, and they just give me the laptop in a box, nothing else. That's the
Exactly.
onboarding, and you start.
Exactly.
And then I was
Yeah.
said to myself, okay, this is not an onboarding. This is terrible. The people that we hire, we should respect them a little bit more and do it. But for me, for myself, I think what I'll say, it's much in line with what you just mentioned. The lack of adequate training and support during the first weeks and months, I think this is the biggest problem with the online onboarding. And
yes,
how
I will. Yeah, and sorry to interrupt.
No, don't worry.
I wanted to give you my example because I've been through that, and actually I didn't even get a laptop. I didn't get anything, and I was supposed to bring my own laptop to the office, and everybody believed that I could do a great job because I had experience. So they didn't give me anything. Nobody taught me to do anything. They just, because I've been a manager for many years, so now you do your job. You know how to do it. Okay, but it's a new company. Come on, you have certain rules, certain policies, a way of doing things. You have mission, vision, values. You have lots of people around the world, so I have to meet them. I have to get to know them. Who is going to teach me all that? I mean, okay, I'm smart, I have experience, but it's not enough, and it's quite frustrating and demotivating for any level. I'm not talking about management because, okay, you have some expectations from senior people, but I'm talking about all levels in the company. It's the same frustration everywhere. So, yeah, I completely agree with you.
This is great. Well, sorry that you didn't receive a laptop.
No.
Anyway, in the end, receiving just a laptop in the box, it's not facing the needs.
Yeah.
We really understand the level of the problematicity, if I can take this word into action. So what are the tools? What are the tools to cope with this? I mean, what the companies have to prepare or do or have in their plans, or maybe some additional teams or some people in HR group, team, or I don't know, outsourced then we can face this problem, and instead of just sending the laptop in the box and telling you, well, since now you're an observer, take a look and do your best. I know you'll do it. What is, I mean, are there any really tools that we can speak of that will help everyone to put it on a better level?
Mm-hmm. So your turn now.
Yes, my turn. And by the way, I'm just experiencing the problems of remote work currently. My 4-year-old son just showed up. He went from his room. Anyway, you're here.
It's okay.
Well,
Yeah.
let's meet him. Hello.
Yeah,
Hi.
he's yeah, you can see he escaped the room and just moved around, but I'll put him away because he's
So nice.
interrupting what I'm doing. Yeah,
you see,
you
this
can
is
see.
one challenge of the remote work.
This is quite of a challenge, but it depends how your company is operating. If it's a bigger company, it's easier. You can have people that do it, and they work in the right way. But if you don't do, then it's very hard. And as you can see, when one of the parents is missing, the job of keeping things in touch becomes very, very hard.
But
Well,
you're giving
actually-
us a very nice example when you are not just, how do you say, excluding that something is happening. You're sharing with us. We can say hello to your child, and maybe this can be the practice among the people who are working at some point. I mean, someone can work with their kitten or a dog, say hello, no problem. This is something that they can share personally, or I'm wrong?
Being a parent itself is a lot of experience, you know.
Yeah, that's
with
true.
him, whenever you decide to try to be harsh like a boss, and just let's say, imagine if I slap him now, which would be terrible. But this is not working. It's the same. It's the same with employees. If you want to force them to do something, it rarely works. They should believe it and then start to do it. Otherwise, it's just not working.
Being a parent is a full-time job. I fully agree with you. And you cannot escape easily from it, and you cannot resign from it, that's for sure. So leaving the joke aside, I think once the employee signs the offer and the contract, I think it's very important that you want to make sure as an employer that your employee knows exactly what is expected from him or from her. Okay, he understands or she understands the roles, the responsibilities, the objectives of the company, and also the personal objectives. They understand the procedures, the policies, the internal rules, the code of conduct, the mission, the vision, the values of the company. So actually what you need to provide is an agenda for the onboarding, first of all. Okay, so the employee needs to know what are the next steps when they join the company. Okay, what is expected from them, and
Is it
they
like
need
a
to know
list? Do we have
exactly. It's just a list created together with the manager, with the direct manager, of course, because HR is not alone and they need to cope together. And of course, if there is a body or a mentor during this process, during the onboarding period, it would be even greater, a greater job. Okay, why do we need the body? Why do we need the mentor? Because sometimes people need company, you know, during this process, need somebody from the business to guide them through the process. It's not only HR, it's not only the manager, but somebody with experience in the company, somebody who knows the rules, somebody who knows where the kitchen is, or you know where things can be found, or contact list for emergencies or things like that. Even when the onboarding process is done remotely, they should be aware of all that. Okay. They should also be aware if they have an office or not, and what are the expectations when joining the office. Okay, so these are basic things that we can do in order to make sure that the employees feel comfortable when they join the company. They don't feel lost. Somebody takes care of them. They are on good hands. This is their major expectation. Okay, to feel comfortable, to be safe, to be secure, and somebody takes care of them. They are not alone.
This is a very good point, and I want to move to the second question by well, it leads the previous one to the next one, because it seems to me that we are speaking about the coin from one side, where we are speaking that we need to do an agenda, we need to give them the list of the values, of everything we need, of everything we expect from them. But there is the other part, when we really need to give to the employee a sense of a belonging to a company. How does this process goes, especially when it is online? Because Peter before told us that there is a good experience of doing some team buildings or maybe some meetings. How do we do it online? Which is the best way? Do you have any really nice examples of how it works? What do you usually do it for to make people really belong to the company?
I'll give you an example of that, but what she just said, this is the baseline. When you build a house, you should have the foundations. When you're going to a new place, you should have everything in line. And when you have that, then you continue building with more stuff. And that stuff is the online events. Some of the things that we have done throughout the last couple of years is playing online games. Yeah, we're a dev company. It's our colleagues are mostly men. We of course have women, but there are not that many. And we started playing games online. Chess, Counter-Strike, Heroes. Those are games that you can play on even the office laptops, so they're accessible for everyone. We started making at some point early in the mornings video calls. We create a room similar to that one that we have now, and we just go there and chat for like 30 minutes before all the dailies start. That worked pretty well. Of course, after the COVID
What was the
lockdown,
feedback from the employees?
some people, they were joining all of those initiatives, but some others, they were not joining at all. And we try to speak
That
to
was the
those
question,
people.
because if it's not
Yeah.
like obligatory, it's not that you can invite everyone and everyone is present.
Yeah, some people, they don't want to be engaged. This is what we find out. And at some point, we were fine with that. Those people do their jobs. They don't do the minimum because they're not quiet quitters or something like that. But we were fine with them doing just that and not participating in the company events. Because if we put ourselves in their shoes, what happens? Someone is forcing us to have mandatory fun. This is a very socialistic, very dictatorship style, and I wouldn't say it's fun. Yeah, it's not first of May where we should all go to the parade and wave the flags. Oh, our company is so great, we should be on this fun event. No, this is terrible. Whoever wants, yeah, they can join. But we as a company try to lure them into coming into the office or into coming our events by doing something fun. And this was great fun. This is the way to do it in a non-compulsory way.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Karina, do you have any great examples to share?
Yes, actually, what other ideas could be useful? It's brainstorming sessions. So we get together and try to work on case studies or try to work even on our different situations occurred during our program, our normal program during the day, and we try to get to know each other, to get to exchange ideas, opinions, and it's very useful. Of course, if they are kept short, I mean, we don't do it for 2 hours, 3 hours, because people, lose their interest and lose their motivation. So maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, then that's it. What else we can do is to do some self-assessment exercises or well-being trainings, workshops, short ones, again, because actually we are quite bored of this online thing, and we got used, some of us are used to it, but some of us are already, enough, that's enough, let's go and meet.
Sorry for interrupting, but when you say short, what do you mean, the timing? Because short for a company of a 100 person can be half an hour or an hour or two?
Maximum 90 minutes. It depends on the exercise. It depends on the program, and the things like that. I have had lots of interventions on wellness and well-being in the workplace, diversity and inclusion, brainstorming, self-assessment, things like that. And it works just fine. I mean, people are quite interested, you know. For instance, I give you an example. Yesterday, I've had 300 professors from Romania, from all over Romania, joining, talking about digitalization and the relationship between professors and teenagers in school.
Okay.
And it was an amazing conversation, believe me. So, and it was for 1 hour only. They didn't want to end it, you know. So actually, even if we got sometimes stuck in this remote and we are bored and we don't want it anymore, it's very useful when you talk to people around the country or around the globe, you know. It's very practical. And if you make it short and you send the message and you make it practical, then people start to love it, you know, and see the benefits. If you understand the benefits behind and you explain your employees, for instance, the why do they, what's in it for me? What are the benefits of joining? Okay, what's the value added? Then they will start coping, they will start joining, and they will even leave their cameras on.
Great.
This is great. This is great example. We are doing something fairly similar at our company. Every 2 weeks we have an internal talk that we do on Hangouts. So I invite one of the experts, let's say the head of UX, some of the more experienced product guys, and they talk about their topic. I did a topic about public speaking. Another one did about how we should start a project. Another one did a project on the basics of Golang, and they do it in a way for like 30-40 minutes, as you mentioned, so they can present themselves, of course, just a bit, and the topic. And out of those 170 people that we have, around 35-40% join on those meetings, and they stay till the very end. And then when we upload it, a lot more watch it. I have the data, which the data, by the way, is very important for those things. If nobody is watching what are you doing, you should think to yourself, am I doing that right? And it's for all kind of processes that we have in the HR, not just for the onboarding. But if you have such a high rate of participation, more than 50%, then this is good, and that should continue. Of course, if something is working well, as we say, don't touch it. Just push it so it can work even better. So yeah, this is and it's not very hard to do. In the beginning, you said a lot of things that we should have a process, we should be empathic, and so on. The things that we should have so people feel evaluated and feel included are simple. Empathy, if we're empathic enough, and the people that we have hired, or maybe they're in the company, they are the managers of company, if they are empathic enough to their subordinates and stakeholders, things can go well even without many process and even without too many events. And here comes the role of the HR to facilitate a little bit more of those events, just as we gave those examples, because honestly, they're not very hard. If you have at least 40-50 people in the company, you can find 5-6 people, if you know them, of course, but this is your job as HR to know them. You can find 5-6 people who are interesting, and they can do something interesting for the others. You just have to, to make them convenient to go and speak out.
Motivate them.
Yes.
To be the ambassadors. To be the ambassadors,
yeah.
You know, it's
that
very
was actually
important.
My question. Who is responsible for that? Because it seems to me that this is like an additional field of work for an HR, because before you didn't have to do all this, pardon me for saying, but like a leisure time thoughts about how can we, I don't know, involve people in communication or think about their well-being and make the company feel the better place. So it's like an additional blast of work. So is this like the direct responsibility of the HR, or
not only,
okay.
No, not only, but I think it's essential, especially during the pandemic period, to take into consideration the mental health and the wellness and well-being in the working place. I mean, if we create a place, a nice working place for our employees, if we stick together, if we work as a team, if we care about each other, I think that for some people it's much more important than money, much more important than the salary. And I think the role of HR becomes more and more crucial during this period to find those people who are quite ambassadors, change ambassadors, who are, you know, an inspiration, informal leaders within a company, in order to give them this task, you know, this responsibility to try to inspire the others and to keep them together. Because I think it's very important to show people, to practice what you preach, and to show people that you really care. It's not only about the values on the walls or in our internal rules, but it's about the behaviors and how we put it into practice. So I think this becomes more and more important, and that's why we need leaders, informal and formal leaders within the companies. We need management skills, we need empathy, we need care, and we need to understand that people come to work as a whole. It's not only about results, it's not only about work, it's not only about delivering by the end of the day or within, I don't know, 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever. The timing is not important, but it's also about how they do it as a human being, as a whole. So I think that's why our role is quite important.
I agree on that. I can say that the HR role changed a lot in the last 5-6 years, or even before the pandemic. If we count on that we can just go to work, do our administrative stuff, or if we're recruiters, just recruit people and let it be. That could be everything that we do. Yeah, in some companies that might work. If we work for a corporation that has administration team of 100 people, we might be just that small part of the wheel. But if we want to be something bigger, if we want to create more value, we should do more. I mean, not overwork ourselves to that, because burning out in HR is pretty common. LinkedIn they had a survey about it, that the most burned people in the last few years are the people that work in HR. Usually they make joke about us HR that we don't work at all, but obviously this is not true. We know how much work there is, but we should step out of our shoes and do the extra step. Go find the leaders, the formal leaders, the informal leaders, act like business partners. And in many organizations still in Bulgaria, in East Europe in general, but not only here as well, the HR is not being taken too seriously. Why is that? Why is that? We should, if we want to be taken seriously, we should be serious. We should add value at everything that we do. And at some point, after time passes, and when we look back and say to the people that we work with, mostly the managers of the company or the C-level, and say, hey, we did this, and this, and the effects are that, and that, and they can see the value that we're bringing. In many companies, the HR are staying low, and they're doing mostly administrative stuff, like doing the payroll, do the recruitment, participate in some meetings, just stay there and listen. I mean, this is not effective. Yeah, if you have probably Elon Musk as a manager with his extraordinary, non-very human-like style, the company still might progress. This is true. They can do well without HR, some of those companies, but in most the most companies, this is not the style that people can have. No one is enigmatic as him, or do they have the money that this guy has, or his vision to do business. Most companies are not like that, and if they behave in that way without the human in HR, they are doomed to fail. But this is up to us as human resources professionals. Do we want to work for such people? This is another thing. I think that we should be a bit braver, and I'm not telling you guys to leave your company right away if your boss don't call you.
Not
for
right
anything,
away, but
not right away. Start looking for a new job.
But you need to take a decision if you are in a company like this. And what I tell people I work with is, you need to choose what kind of HR you want to be. Either you compromise and you keep going like this, either you take a decision because it's about your life and it's about your values and about your principles. So it's your choice.
That's a very good field of questions we're speaking right now, because it's a little bit more than we usually give. You know, for example, when you're going to a restaurant, you think of a food or something, but then you receive something more, and it's like more of your expectations, and then you are with overwhelming emotions. So probably the same happens here. And if we're talking about the HRs and recruiters in these circumstances, right now we mentioned that they have to think about the unbundling process, that you have to think about some team building aspects, how to find new, maybe, because the next question is, there are some new responsibilities, not like written ones, there are no rules. Probably it's, Corina, you're right, you have to choose which, which type of HR you want to be, but we are here to be the best of the best. So what else we have to think of? Maybe some more responsibilities that our HRs that are watching right now us have to think about and take on.
Well, I think we have a lot on our plate. It's never enough, of course, but what we need, the perspective has changed a little bit. From the people which were used to execute, now we need to become the strategist in the company. From people used to just to deliver results, just to think about processes, now we need to oversee the business. So it's quite a challenge for us too. And you mentioned before about creating, being the best is learning from the best, first of all. So we need to take care of ourselves as HR. We need to invest in ourselves because we haven't done it so much before. So now it's time to do this. Otherwise, we'll get lost and we'll definitely lose our jobs and we'll definitely lose our voices. And we cannot make any difference if we don't invest in ourselves and we don't keep learning. And what we need to do is to create learning experiences and employee experiences. It's like in marketing, we want to create something nice, the customer experience or the customer journey. Then we need for our employees and for our colleagues, we need to create this employee journey, employee experience in order to become better and better, to discover their potential and to maximize it in order to deliver results, which is quite a challenge. And to be honest, we haven't done this before the pandemic, or we haven't done it for a while at least. And now it's time to start it if we haven't discovered that this is the right way to do it, because the future is uncertain. We don't know what will happen. And we have seen this COVID, we have seen the war, we have seen earthquakes and things like that. We were not prepared for any of this because nobody taught us how to deal with it. But we have learned the hard way, most of us. So actually, what are the lessons learned? If we haven't learned anything from this, then we will not be able to deliver excellence. So I think
let's
evolution.
be honest, most people didn't learn anything.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, well, this is the reality. It's a cruel reality, but we don't live in an ideal world.
Well, telling that mostly they didn't learn, I don't know, what statistics or what observations you are right now speaking of. Because me sitting here in Ukraine, we learned that much from everything that happened to us in all these years that that's actually the question.
Yeah, but you learn it in a not very nice way. To say in the hardest way possible.
You're in the line of fire, so
yeah,
you're forced to.
There are no other ways, or you learn, or
yeah. But still, the thing that even if we can touch that topic, it's crazy. It's 2023, and we're talking about war in Europe, so close to both to Romania, Bulgaria, and Ukraine. This means that people haven't learned in general. This craziness is still going on, and in the business world, there is still craziness going on. We can see that the Great Resignation is still going on. People, even now that the recession is looming for all the causes, money printing, the Ukraine war, the global supply chain problems that we have, but still people aren't happy with their employers, and they're still living en masse, almost everywhere. The job market is still very hot, even though the banks are failing around the world, etc. But that means only one thing: employers in general haven't learned many things. But as everything else, this opens a lot of opportunities. In the past, I was thinking when such things are happening, yeah, that some of those things are very, very bad. They shouldn't happen at all. But in general, when we have a competition in most of our cases, if some other company is doing something in a very bad way, we can learn from them as well. And yes, if other companies, other HRs are not catering to the needs of their employees, then we will. If we take care of our employees, if we do the right thing, yeah, maybe we will not change the world with that, or we won't change the business structure. But if we do the right thing, first of all, we'll have a peace of mind, which is very important in the stressful world that we live today. Second, probably we will help the company that we are living. If we put more than on a personal level, we may help the country that we are living in or the communities around us if we do it everywhere, not just in the business. So those are the opportunities. If people haven't learned and they still do a bad thing, you can benefit from that. Not in a way, I don't speak about profits, but even with profits, you can do it. If you see that people are doing something very bad and you can do it the better way, yes, you'll find clients, you'll find customers, and probably you can make some buck out of it. But if we talk about human relations, just being decent, just being empathic, and you're over the top. I mean, and this is it. Nothing else. Just be a human, and still you're much better than most people, which is simple but still very hard to do.
The simplest things in the world are the hardest.
Exactly.
If we move on with the human beings and how do we manage with all this, there is a question from Mia. She's asking, what advice can you give to line managers to avoid micromanaging new employees during onboarding? We're diving like a little bit into details. Maybe there are some advices on this question.
Well, thank you very much for the question, Mia. It's not only during onboarding, because if you're a micromanager, you'll micromanage all the time. It's not only during the onboarding period. I cannot give any advice. I just can recommend some things. First of all, managers should educate themselves to understand that they cannot control anything. Actually, we cannot control anything as human beings. What we can do is to encourage people to do things, to inspire them to do things, to give them the tools, the support they need to create this environment, this nice working environment, comfortable environment for them, and then they will provide. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients, and they will take care of the business. It's not such a big deal as you mentioned before, but it is very important to understand that at the end of the day, we are in this together. And if we don't support each other the right way, then the business will lose. People will lose and the business will lose. And actually what we deal with nowadays is not just a social or economic or political or crisis. It's an identity crisis. People have learned during this period that work is not enough. They are trying to get their purpose, not only in work, but only in their personal life. Because they struggle with anxiety, they struggle with depression, they struggle with burnout, they have financial issues, they have personal crises, so they need to find solutions. And the right way is to support them during this period, okay? And not only, of course, this is for future reference too, But
That's
the
what I
future is
wanted to
now.
ask. Is it a period, or we are just
No,
entering
no.
like the other
No,
way
the future
of
is
things?
now. Yeah, the future is now, and we cannot afford not to do it anymore. We cannot afford not to care anymore, because we have seen the consequences, and we'll lose. Both parts will lose, definitely. If you are an employee or an employer, we will all lose, and it's a battle between egos. You know, nobody will win it if we continue like this.
Thank you
I
very
can
much.
add something here to look at a bit from a different side, from our personal view. If we create a lasting relationship with the people that we work with our candidates when it comes to recruitment, this is helping us in the long run. Whenever we grow as HR, or maybe we have grown, we are maybe HR managers or whatever, and we want to have a new policy in the company, we want to do something else in a different way, it's very important to have people that support you. And how those people support you? They know that you support them, and you start with the supporting them by the recruitment itself, as you said earlier, and with the onboarding. If we start doing that from the very beginning, from our first, let's say, moment with those people, later on, when we want something from them, probably it will be something good. I'm not speaking about blackmailing those people. I will do that for you, you do that for me. It's a very broken way of thinking, but no. If we're
It's a
just
two-way
honest
street.
and
It's a two-way street.
yeah, it's a two-way
Yeah.
street, but this is helping us as well. Like, and especially, yeah, Ukraine is a little bit bigger as a population than Bulgaria, and even Romania. Romania is also bigger than Bulgaria, but the markets that we work with, they're not that big. I have around 10 years of experience, and I'm meeting people that I have worked with in previous companies all the time. Maybe not specifically for the job, but those people know that I've been honest with them. They know that whenever I say something, I'll probably do it. And yeah, this is helping me in the long run. And when we have that work approach toward our colleagues, this is helping us a lot. And whenever it comes that I want to have some kind of new policy that I want to roll out, it's very easy to find people that they support you, because they know that you have probably think over it, and you're doing it for the common good, not just because you want to do something and yeah, shine on. Yeah, it's not working that way. So whatever we do those things, we should keep in mind that yeah, we do them for the company, we do them for others, but also we do it for ourselves. I mean, it's not bad to do things for ourselves, and especially when they are good both for the company, for the community, and for us as well.
Great.
And one more thing I would like to add, it's in leadership, it's not the leader, it's the team that matters. So it's not about the leader, it's not about the manager, it's doing things together.
It's all about teamwork.
Exactly.
Svetlana Davidenka, she's asking, how do you develop culture of ownership in your companies?
Well, you empower people, and you give them responsibilities, and you encourage them to fail and to learn from their failures. Because actually, this is one thing that we don't do. We punish people for their mistakes, but we don't learn anything from them, instead of giving them chances to learn from their mistakes. So this is the way people become responsible. As long as you empower them, you give them the tools, you give them the motivation, you inspire them to do things. You give them the trust, because they need to be independent. They need to do things their way, not your way, as long as you gave them the responsibility. Then I think this is one way to see things. As long as you lose your control, and you lose a little bit of your power, and you become aware that this is the good way to do things with your team, and you're not a control freak, or you're not really you don't hold to your power.
It's very interesting to work with those control freaks, especially.
It's a challenge.
Because yes, because let's face it, some managers, they're not like that. They're very easygoing. They know what to do. But the question is, what we do with those managers who are exactly like that, with the control freaks.
And the answer is?
The answer is not easy. First of that, it's hard to work with those people. But what we can do as HRs is show them the right way. What I've done in the past was showing these people, say, hey, Ivo, look at Georgi. Georgi is doing that, and that. But this makes people frustrated. In the end, I was thinking that, okay, if I show person A, person B, and they both in our company, they start being jealous of each other. Oh, he's comparing me. He is close to my boss. I will not get promotion, etc. Okay, this might work with some people, but you should know them very well that they are not jealous. But let's face it, 99% of people will get a little bit frustrated when you tell it that way. Then I started telling them, hey, look at, let's say, Adam Grant or some other big manager. When you put them someone so distant and say, hey, he does this, and this works, it works just a bit, just a bit better. Or give them examples from previous companies that you work for. And also, what I've found that it works. What is the problem with the micromanagers? They check their employees' work all the time. And with one of the guys that I work with, I just told him, hey, just check them by schedule, but don't put that checking every 3 hours. Check them once per day. And then he started checking them. It was hard for him because he was acknowledging this. This is another thing. Some people, they don't acknowledge it. This guy already thought to himself, okay, I'm being a control freak, I should do something. And he came to me. It was a bigger company, and then he started when he saw that yes, he's checking them one per day if they called what I've done, and he was fine. Did that work for him, and later on he started checking them not so regularly. Yeah, probably he's still a little bit of control freak, but not that bad that
It's
he's
never enough.
crazy. Yeah, it's never enough, but it's still much better, and I call that a success, because when someone is checking your work every hour, this is crazy. I mean, you wouldn't go nowhere, especially if you have
Why
to do
would you
something.
do that, really? So as long as you have some really KPI, some objectives that you need to accomplish, why would you check your people every hour, you know? And by the way, what we need to find out is the cause. Why are people micromanagers?
Some
know?
people are
Why are
crazy. Some people
control
are
freaks?
crazy.
Oh, well,
Just being themselves, no? Well,
Yeah.
it's first type.
it's a matter of personal things, personal stuff, which has to be dealt with. But we need to understand the cause of the behavior, because what we need to change is the behavior of those people, you know. And it's quite difficult. It's quite because, you know, if people get used to control all the time, they create a habit. It's a toxic habit, and it's bad for the company. It's bad for themselves, for their personal reputation, personal image, but it's also bad for the team. So actually, what we need to understand is to start with the cause, to start with the why. Why are people like this? Why are they behaving like this? In order to, you know, to attack the cause and to work with it. But if people are not aware that their behavior is a bad influence for the others, they will not do anything. Because these people have the tendency to believe about themselves they are perfect, which is not true. Nobody's perfect. Okay, and it's difficult to understand. At this position, at this level, it's quite difficult. It's a matter of statute, you know. It's a matter of ego most of the time. If I'm a manager, I deserve to be here. I have the rights. Okay, so you have to do what I say. It's not like this anymore. It's not working anymore. Okay, so if we want to help them, then we need to stay together, to give them feedback, to explain, okay, to do some assessment, maybe 360, to see the current situation, to see where they are, where we want them to be, and what would be the key performance indicators we need to accomplish together as a team. So, and one of them should be a change in their behavior, because their current behavior is not good for the business.
Good point. Peter, do you have something to add, or we move to the next question?
I just found something funny. I recently read an article that 60% of the managers, they are checking their employees' work very, very regularly with timestamps, etc. And I wanted to find the article, and I just wrote in Google, managers monitoring their employees. And the first article that pops up is even from Harvard Business Review, and it says
Exactly.
how to monitor your employees. Yeah.
Yeah, but monitor
Probably.
is not controlling, so
Yes,
monitoring is quite
yes,
different. And it's
yes,
good
and
to
then
monitor your employees because you want to see where they are, of course, but controlling is different.
yes, you're the manager at the end of the day. We shouldn't mix
Yeah,
monitoring and controlling, but still,
that's the
some
point.
people focus too much on that for sure.
On
Yeah,
controlling and forget managing.
For sure.
yeah, yeah.
And let's not mix that HR from this moment have to control and double check the managers. So let's don't do that. But there is a question about what do you think can be done for a startup company where roles change significantly. Sorry, processes change very quickly, and working conditions for employees do not change as quickly. So probably we're speaking about timing. So how can employees be engaged and made more loyal? Is this simply a matter of motivation and the better to let go of those who are not ready for risk and new responsibilities? A very long question, but we pretty understand about what we have on a plate.
And a very short answer: adaptability and flexibility. This is, and having and having an open mind. That's and the entrepreneurial spirit, I would say, because actually in startups, that's the story. I mean, they are very dynamic. They are quite demanding. Things happen really, really fast, and they need to adapt and to keep up with the trends. So that's the kind of people they need actually. Otherwise, if you're lazy, if you're not moving fast enough, if you're not adaptable and not flexible and not open-minded, and you don't think, you don't have a vision, then you're lost. So I fully agree with that. It's the mindset we need to look in our future employees. When we hire people for a startup, we need to think about this, because these are competencies and skills that cannot be taught overnight. So
For
if
sure.
you have them or you don't have them.
Whether you can cope or not, and you know in advance whether
Yes.
it works or not.
Yes,
Of course, just to add something here,
Yeah,
I
for
agree
sure.
I agree with that. You should have the right people that they should work in a startup as personalities. But also, what can help about the first part of the question is that in some startups or in many companies in general, the transparency is not good enough.
Yeah.
If people don't know what is going on, they can hardly get engaged or know what's going, or just be in line with what is happening. Yes, procedures may change, roles may change. If there is someone to talk about it at least a month, to do all hands meeting, or even do some kind of newsletter, or just a generic general message in Slack or via email, that could be enough. I mean, or even the managers, if they can talk to people, say, hey, we're changing, we changed this, and this, and this. The company is going in that direction. We managed to do that, and that. Sometimes this can be enough. And when you have that, and you have the people that you mentioned that they are flexible, they know where they are located. This will work even better. Yes, just hiring the right people isn't enough sometimes. If they don't have the information, if they don't have the tools that we talked earlier to do their work in the right way, it's not enough. But being transparent and speak about the managers about the need of transparency, this can work in a good way.
Great. One more question from Svetlana Davidenko. With the help of which metrics or data can you prove the effectiveness of your projects? So I'm thinking about the question is about startups probably.
I have been following all the, let's say, the minimum metrics that we should follow is our retention rate, our turnover rate. We should also measure quality of hire. Not many companies do that. There are different ways to measure quality of hire, but one of the best ways to measure it is just do your regular checkups on the 3rd month, on the 6th month, on 9 and 1 year. And after a year, you can go and check what you have written in your interview evaluations. If what the people have asked on the interview and evaluated that person. Is that really happening? Sometimes you don't need 1 year to see that if you have failed in your judgment to a certain person, but especially about the quality of hire, this is one of the most important metrics about recruitment and also the HR processes in a company. If the quality of hire is low, that means you have a big problem with recruitment and also with onboarding. So if you don't have good quality of hire, yeah, probably you have problems. I mean, not you're not going anywhere, or maybe the company culture is that, because in some startups we know they hire a lot, they lay off a lot of people. I'm not fan of that, but for some people, let's face it, this works. This is fine. Only the strongest survive. But you should know that this is going on. Also, the employee satisfaction surveys, they're very important. Not many companies do them. You can always do such surveys twice a year to see how people feel, and the question should be the same. You shouldn't change the questions too much. In my current company, we do almost the same survey for like 3 years now. And yes, I can go back and check what our results were in the beginning of 2020, and I can see them now. And yeah, and also you should give the option for people to comment and give their feedback to the company in general or to the managers, and that feedback should be anonymous. They should be sure that this is anonymous, because when it's anonymous, they may tell you some things that you are not seeing, and this is the most precious feedback. Yes, if we're doing great, you coming to me and telling, hey, this is great company, we're the best. Oh, thank you very much. But yeah, probably I know it. But we want to know, as HRs and as business people, we want to know where are the problems. Yes, we should know the good things to put them on our employer branding, but we should know the bad things to fix them, not just to think about if they exist or no.
Definitely, I fully agree with you, and I would add also the stay-in interviews. So we care about people staying in the company. We don't just ask them why they leave the companies. We want them to respond to see why they stay in the company, what motivates them, what drives them, what keeps them together, what do they need in order to perform. And by the way, about the employee satisfaction surveys, it's good that we have them, but we also need to create an action plan based on the results and to share it with our employees. Because if we just take the answers and we don't do anything with them, then people will lose trust in this tool and they will not answer, next time. So actually, we need to do something with the results and to show people that we really care about what they answered. So it's a very good tool as long as we really do something with it. It's the same with the stay-in interviews. It's the same with the exit interviews. Feed-forward feedback sessions, very important, again, because we don't know how to give feedback and we don't know how to receive it. So we need to learn together how to do it. And I think it is important, again, to keep the transparency and the communication open all the time.
Thank you very much. There is actually the last one, because we don't have too much time, unfortunately, but still. What are your thoughts on managing workload and tracking time spent by remote employees? And can strict frameworks have a negative impact on employees during onboarding? Probably we were speaking a little bit about that from different perspectives, but still there is a concrete question, so let's do that.
Well, being a manager for more than 15 years, I cared a lot about the results, not about the time. Because actually this is what matters most, If people have done their job, they are willing to help the others, and if they have done it within, 3 hours, 4 hours instead of 8 hours, good for them. So I don't care about timing. I don't keep, the clock or the watch close to me. It's just a matter of delivering and being engaged and doing your job in the way you do it, in your own way. So people don't work the same way. People are not engaged the same way. People are not motivated by the same things. They have different lives. So we cannot expect everybody to deal with the same task in the same way. So I think we need to give them certain independence and a certain autonomy to do their jobs, and they will do it. Because if we have good tools, to monitor performance, okay, then we don't need a watch or a clock to do it.
Good point. Peter?
Unfortunately, I cannot disagree. Like I don't know, maybe if it was someone from other planet, maybe we may have more disagreements.
Well, it's
but
not
yeah.
about disagreements. Maybe you have something to add.
Oh
Great
yeah,
people
but
think alike, you know.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's much more fun when there is disagreements. Let's
I
be
know,
honest
for
about
that.
it. Yes. What I can add that people should be given freedom, but sometimes they need direction and they need a good example of how to do certain tasks. And yeah, this is our job as managers. When we see that someone is struggling, we should go ahead and say, hey, you should do this and this and this. Focus on that a little bit more. And I'm how to say, vivid supporter of giving feedback on time. Don't wait a few months to pass. Don't wait a week. If there is something that you should tell your employee that she or he is not doing right, tell that person in the first convenient moment. Don't wait for it. The few moments that I was so angry that I was going to leave a couple of my evaluation meetings in the past few years was that when my manager came to me and said, hey, do you remember that in August you did that and that? And I was telling that thing in December, and I got crazy. Why you tell me something that happened 4 months ago? Like, what was going on? Like, didn't we work in those 4 months together? And on my evaluation meeting, you tell me about something that happened in August. I got completely nuts. So whenever I've worked with people that I was their manager, I was trying to be very honest with them, very strict on what I'm expecting, and I was expecting the same in return. And I can tell you, with whoever I've worked, with whoever I have mentored, because I have mentored more people that I have managed, it was working very, very, very well. People, and I can also come back to Elon Musk. Yeah, he's not my favorite or whatever, but do you know why people love to? Yes, why people love to work under him? Because he have goals and he's very vocal about it, and people know what to expect. Yes, in many cases he's not the best manager. Probably I wouldn't go to work for Twitter or Tesla. They wouldn't take me maybe. But people that work there, they know what to expect from him most of the time. At least the ones who know him, that they work for a long time. And yes, you know that when you do A, you get to B, you do that and you receive this. This is fine. People want to have credibility, they want to be respected, and they want to see the way where they're going. And when you are that leader that you are showing them the way and they know what to expect from you and from the company, if possible, then things are going easy and people are performing well.
But if we speak about like the two previous questions with this one, probably we are like going on a very, very thin line. We're crossing from one side, there is not checking them very strictly and too much. And from the other side, like sledging or skiing, I don't know, from okay, we don't overthink about how much time they put on their work. So it's probably like where to check and where to expect. Very, very thin line.
Yes,
it depends on the people.
Yes, and leadership is like parenting. So you never know if you're good at it or not until your child has, I don't know, is 30 years old. So it's exactly like this. You need to experiment all the time, to reinvent yourself, to sit together, to find new solutions, new ways, new perspectives of doing things.
Great. Well, actually, we can still speak and speak and speak, but still I won't go with another questions because we are running out of time. But it's been a pleasure once again for you to know HR and Recruitment Manager at OpenTag from Bulgaria, Peter Juganski. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. And the HR International HR Consultant, Trainer and Coach at DARE from Romania, Corina Negu. Corina, thank you very much for being today with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience and for having this conversation with such a warm dialogue. And I hope it was very inspiring and helpful and informative for our audience.
Thank you.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Whoever listened to us, if you like our talks, you can follow us on LinkedIn as well.
Of course.
You hardly write my name just by hearing, but you can see it how it's spelled. Yeah.
Give us a feedback. That would be great, probably. Because next time when sitting and speaking and raising different questions, we can speak about something that you really need and you feel a problem in this space. Once again, thank you very much. And
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'm closing up. So, dear colleagues, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure for me too, and hope for you guys too. So if you could give us a feedback, once again, I'm asking you. I missed the chat here, but I will look it after. So please just write, how do you feel? Maybe you have another questions or some other topics that you want us to raise. We are, of course, preparing a new events focused on professional topics and pressing questions. So soon you will receive an invitation to our next live broadcast. I hope you will be with us. And just to help us organize more, I'd say, target online sessions, or if you wish, for example, to explore a specific topic, or I don't know, just please participate in the poll by clicking in the link provided right now in our chat. That would be very, very grateful. And once again, the second HR Global Summit is organized by HR Cafe and the community-centered educational platform for HR specialists and practitioners. We invite you to join us, and the HR Cafe unites HR professionals, as we can see, from all over the world who share the same core values, offering an ideal environment for networking and abundant educational opportunities. So whether you are interested in learning about our upcoming conferences or seeking opportunities for experience exchange within a large professional community, now, exactly now, because we just heard, as Corina told us, the future is now, is the perfect time to complete the registration form. Once again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for a great evening, a nice talk, and hope to see you soon. My name is Nika Konstantinova, and have a nice evening.